Very excited to introduce Bassem El Remesh is our VP operations here at ChainSafe. Been here very, very long time, was the first employee that we actually hired. And so very excited to hear him talk about accounting in crypto and how that's kind of done from a business perspective. Okay, Bassem up here. Thanks, buddy. So take it away.
Thank you everyone for coming in here today. My name is Bassem. I'm VP of Operations at ChainSafe. You know, as thank you for the introduction. As you said, I've been at ChainSafe for a bit over well under 3 years now. From the beginning of when ChainSafe was actually picking up. Yeah, thank you from CSCON, and thank you for taking the time to join me here today for this talk. We hope that you will find this informative. So to begin with, this presentation is composed of 3 main components. So to begin with, I will start off by talking about why we use crypto, and then I will move on to talk about the challenges that we face when we use crypto, and then finally I will talk about our approaches to addressing those challenges and how we can overcome them in an environment where there is not so much regulation or understanding of how this can be done. To begin with, I will start by talking about why we use crypto. So the first reason that we use crypto, and I think that to us is the most important factor, is that it aligns with our mission, which is to realize the potential of Web3 through sustainable and open source development. And we always want to live up to our mission and to our role in the community. And so we find one of the ways that we can do that is by streamlining using crypto as a method of payment, and also encouraging everyone to use crypto as a way for us to increase adoption of Web3 and to spread decentralization all over the world. And to do that, this is one of the things that we can do and doing and encouraging. The second reason of why we use crypto is stakeholder preference. We are a company that is based in Toronto, but we operate across borders. A significant percentage of our community partners and team members prefer crypto as a form of payment, or at least as a portion of that payment. And we always try to honor that, and we try to work with it and make it possible whenever it is desired or necessary. As to give you some context here, we are a company that is based in Toronto, Canada, but however, 60% or more of our team members are located outside of Canada. We are committed to be able to work internationally and across the globe and to provide opportunities for everyone around the world. And so we are spread, as you can see on the map, for across 15 countries. And I do have to apologize for some of my team members here that feel like their countries are not highlighted. Sometimes we had a bit of a difficulty highlighting some of the smaller countries on the map. But we love you, and we definitely care about you on all of these countries across the globe. And also, you know, I want to say also that it goes without saying that when we have such an international team like that, crypto payments are always the superior option for payments, and that is due to cheaper transaction fees and faster processing times. So, for example, when we want to send out a payment to someone living in a foreign country, one of the options is sending a wire transfer through the bank. That option usually takes a few days to clear. And it comes with a lot of errors, and we get a lot of complaints about payments not being processed, banks holding up payments and asking for different kinds of clarifications and asking for more information about every payment we make, and that delays the payment process by sometimes weeks. While with crypto, there's almost instant finality. Within a few minutes, a payment can be processed and cleared. And the other benefit to crypto in this situation is that there is much cheaper transaction fees. So for the bank transfer that I spoke about, you would pay around $25 per transaction, while in crypto it's or in the Ethereum blockchain it's usually less than $1. And so as we can see also, there is a demand for crypto in our community. More than 50% of our team members accept or prefer crypto as a method of payment, or as a partial payment. And on the other hand, almost all of our community partners offer crypto as a form of payment or as a portion of that payment, and they also offer it as an incentive mechanism when they partner with us around certain projects. So for those reasons, we do have the necessity to work with crypto, and in addition to it being something that we believe in. The third factor is, for the third reason why we use crypto, is participation in the ecosystem. So in addition to working on building the infrastructure for Web3, we believe in the value of participating in these networks that we take part in developing and securing and building. And so examples of that would be while we work as a on Lodestar, our Ethereum 2.0 client. And now that we have Ethereum, Ethereum 2.0 is here, and we feel like it is our duty to become part of that network and participate as validators, and that requires us using crypto, of course. Other examples of that would be joining as validators in Filecoin, and because it's also another project that we work on and we deeply and strongly believe in. So these have been, the reasons for why we use crypto. There's a lot more nuance to that, but this is just a brief picture of the reasons for why we use it. Next up, we will talk about the challenges of that. There are a lot of challenges that come that we face when we use crypto, especially from the bookkeeping and the accounting side. And keep in mind, a lot of those challenges are not necessarily always related to the nature of how crypto works. Quite the opposite. Crypto is always a superior way of making payments and securing investments and everything like that. However, a lot of those challenges come from regulations and tax implications, and specifically from how we can do our bookkeeping and our accounting. So the first and most obvious challenge that we face when we use crypto is volatility. So price changes every day. That makes it difficult for us to keep track of costs at a given time. So if we send a payment today at a certain value, we can look tomorrow at the value of that payment, and probably would be different. It could be less, it could be more, and that adds a lot of challenges when we want to figure out our bookkeeping and accounting. And that also makes it difficult for us to estimate when we receive payments in crypto, to estimate revenues and how to keep it up to date with changing token values. So that complicates how we interpret the health of the financial health of our organization, and it complicates how we can estimate revenues and profit and loss. And so just from an internal company perspective, it makes it a lot harder to be able to evaluate how we are doing as a company. The second challenge that we face is figuring out the tax implications for when it comes to gains and losses. So as I said earlier, prices change all the time, and the value of the tokens that we hold and we use for payments or we receive from partners are changing all the time. So not only it's hard for us to understand how we are doing as a company and how our financial health is doing and our cash flow, but also how do we report them? How do we report gains and losses? And do we do that quarterly? Do we do that yearly? What value do we use at what time? Do we use the value at the time that we receive the money? Do we do it at the time that we file the taxes? Do we do it at the end of the year? So that kind of adds a lot of complexities. Governments and tax agencies in most jurisdictions have not defined how we can report crypto gains and losses. So that kind of adds a layer of difficulty when we want to categorize our assets and report revenues and gains and losses. And that leaves us in a position where we have to figure out how we can label everything, how we can establish pricing, and the approach that we can take may not go well with what the regulatory agencies are see things, and that might complicate things when there's an audit or when there's a time for reporting, let alone how we work with accounting firms and how they also view things. So that makes the task a lot more daunting, and complicates everything on our end, because every day is different, and the numbers that we figured out yesterday in Canadian or US dollars would be different from today. And so the third challenge that we face when we use crypto is the lack of an automated accounting software. And just to give you some context, a lot of companies that use crypto end up, will have to use both cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies to conduct their transactions. And while there's an existing infrastructure for doing accounting for fiat money using bank accounts, there's no equivalent and an easy way to do it for crypto. And the additional layer of challenge here is that we need to combine both. So we have worked with community partners before. There has been attempts to solve this problem by a number of members in the community. We have worked with companies like Very Ledger, and there's exciting projects coming up like Partial that we are kind of developing connections with. We are working with them on developing their product and giving them suggestions and ideas for what might work. But there remains a lot of challenges. So we are not there yet. We are not at a time where this can be done in an automated way, and we still do a lot of manual work. Some of the challenges that come with that is that these solutions haven't really addressed. In some cases, there's a difficulty in accounting for transaction fees, or taking the values of these tokens at a certain time, or where do we get to the source of truth or the value of these tokens. And on the other hand, there's also dealing with multiple blockchains. And because we are a blockchain agnostic organization, we find it difficult to find an automated software or a solution that can actually take and give us information and compile them across blockchains. So challenges we found ourselves were to come up with solutions, right? We are committed to using crypto, so we did not want to say that, no, we will not use crypto. We are committed to doing this, and we are committed to figuring out how to do it. And to do that, we have developed some approaches that we found to be helpful for us. And these approaches can be summarized in one word, to be honest, and it's just improvise. We needed to improvise. We needed to do everything to the best of our ability. And we hope that the knowledge that we gain can help other organizations who are facing a similar issue, and also maybe help regulatory agencies and governments and figuring out how to deal with crypto transactions as well. So the first approach is stablecoins. Stablecoins have become a revolution in crypto payments and financing. For us, they have offered a great solution that solves the problem of volatility, because they also, we, as a company that is based in Canada, we often use foreign currencies like the US dollar. And when we use a foreign currency, stablecoins like DAI offer a great solution, because we can treat it just like any other foreign currency like the US dollar. So it's much easier to keep track of that. But we also realize that stablecoins are not the full solution for our problem, because we still need to use other tokens from. And so one of the ways that can help is that they reduce the amount of transactions that we have to deal with accounting for transactions. And so what happens in this case, for example, is that we end up let's say we want, for example, we want to pay send payments for our team members as a compensation for work. So instead of sending, let's say at a given period of time, instead of sending 50 transactions in a volatile currency, we can do one transaction where we swap the volatile currency to a stable currency, to a stable coin, and then we can send 49 transactions in a stable coin. So we can are stable and will not change to deal with one transaction out of 50 that is volatile and that is subject to interpretation. And so in that way, we were able to kind of address that problem. It was not a solution that we came up with, but it was a solution that the community has offered. And we always I always want to reiterate how that made this so much easier and have made this more accessible to everyone. And so the second approach that we presentations for multiple blockchains, but also combine the traditional accounting system that we use and oftentimes we can find ourselves using and when we want to go use the accounting softwares for crypto that we have found, there is a difficulty in integrating the two. So far we were, the only solution that we had is the records and try to integrate those with a solution that works well. It's not perfect. I would say it comes with a 95% certainty. However, it takes a lot of time and effort, and it takes a lot of thinking, and it takes a lot of revisiting what we did to be able to make sure that we are reporting things correctly and to the best of our ability. And as I said earlier, like with having stablecoins helps because we are able to limit the number of transactions, and we can do we can, for example, instead of recording every transaction fee at once, we can lump sum all of our transaction fees and add them once a month or so we can actually limit the amount of work that comes from having to deal with these transactions. And yeah, so we use stablecoins. We keep a manual record of things, and then we integrate that with our accounting software. And then we translate that and we keep updating it based on the market value. However, this is for transactions. It doesn't really solve all of the problems. So there's still more to do when we are dealing with a lot of coins that are being used for different purposes. And so that brings me to the third approach that we have when it comes to tax implications. And so, as I said earlier, we use multiple coins, and some of them we use for payments, and some of them we use for we store for investments, for staking, and so that kind of complicates things when it comes to reporting gains or losses for that. And so when it comes to taxes, I think the key word here is improvise. We look at the current financial market. We look at how the existing tax regulations work with any other asset outside of the crypto. And so we try to draw parallels between the existing tax, kind of the best way for us to fill in the gap between the existing taxing infrastructure and the legal framework and this new industry that we are working on that we hope that can be more streamlined in the future. And I can give you an example for how we do that. To put simply, probably categorize our cryptocurrencies into two main categories. And the question that we ask ourselves in every scenario is, why are we using those tokens? Or what is the purpose of us using those tokens? If the purpose is to receive payments, and both, we can categorize foreign currency. And so whenever there is an appreciation or depreciation in the value of Ether or any other coin that we use for payments, we can count it as a foreign exchange loss or gain. US dollars, the value of that changes as compared to the Canadian dollars. And so the exact same mechanism we use for US dollars, we can use for those coins. And I think, and that is our best way of explaining tax authorities for what we were doing and why we were reporting certain things. And we have tokens that are being used for staking or as an investment, for a future that for us to kind of use later, realize the gain from at a later stage. And so with that category, if we categorize those tokens as investments, we can categorize them as current assets, and then we can report those as an unrealized gain or unrealized loss, and then we can at the end of every period, if we decide to sell them, we can report them as a capital gain or loss. And if we don't decide to sell them, they end up being as unrealized, and so that we can keep them updated in our books without having to completely record them as a gain or as part of our revenue. But to sum things up, these are just very simple approaches that we have. We are trying our best to improvise and to come up with solutions and approaches to address these issues. But there has been a lot of progress in the community. We are working with amazing communities, particular problem. We are working with tax authorities as well as accounting firms to provide a better understanding or come together to a better understanding for how we can do this. But what hasn't changed throughout this time is our commitment to spreading the adoption of Web3 and our commitment to in providing that option to everyone who wants and encouraging everyone to accept crypto as a means of payment and also as a store of value. So this brings us to the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I also want to say that while we haven't figured everything out completely, this is just to say that we have this is our approach. It may not be the most correct approach. It may not be the wrong approach either. But I would consider this as a starting point for a conversation with our community members to get feedback on how are we doing, how are we doing things compared to others, and how we can always continue to improve harmonization when it comes to how we report our crypto and how we can integrate it with our accounting systems. And we hope that you found this presentation helpful and insightful. As a lot of my peers said yesterday, we are hiring at ChainSafe. We are always looking for amazing team members to join. Or you have any ideas or thoughts or suggestions on how we do things, you're always welcome to reach out to us on Twitter at ChainSafeETH. And if you're interested in joining the team or learning more about the opportunities that we have, you can email us at careers@chainsafe.io, or you can visit our website, our careers page, which is chainsafe.io/careers. And with that, I'll open up for anyone who has any questions.
Thanks, Bassem. Really appreciate all of your hard-earned expertise on this. I know it's been a pretty steep learning curve over the last few years to be able to kind of respond and be able to find the most efficient path through these problems. So definitely appreciate that. But yeah, we do have a couple of audience questions for you. So the first one being, do you think giving the option for crypto payments to employees offers a competitive advantage for talent retention?
Absolutely. We have worked with people who would only accept crypto as a form of payment. And at times where this was a bit difficult, we found it to be challenging. And for a lot of our community members and our team members as well, they have found that the fact that we offer that option for them has been a really great motivator for them to join ChainSafe, because they find us to be a flexible organization that attend to their needs and what they would like and what they want. And they find with that also a commitment from us to increase adoption and in the community as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bassem. And so secondly, we have, do you think companies offering alternative payment options in crypto will become more common? And if so, what do you think the regulatory response to those changes would look like?
So I do see that increase. I think over time, that number of people who offer crypto or accept crypto as a form of payment has been increasing over time. We have, and again, as I said, with the case of stablecoins offered a great solution for that. And when that option was available, the amount of transactions increased by a lot. And so that is definitely on the rise. I don't know how much I can talk about the effect of that on on how governments would react to that. We realize that governments have no option but to accept this at some point, and the fact that that an increasing number of people are using crypto and receiving payments in crypto will force governments to have no option but to figure out regulations and come up with innovative ways for understanding and accepting that this is a fact of how we do things right now, and it will get them to a point where they will need to work with it. So in a sense, I see this as a positive pressure that can be applied on a lot of our regulatory agencies for them to keep up with the change in technology and the change of how we do things.
Yeah, totally agree. I guess like a critical mass of users is one way to kind of push a regulatory response. So yeah, like really appreciate your insights on this, and thanks for taking the time to speak with us today. Awesome.
Thank you for organizing this, and thank you again for all the ChainSafe Party Planning Committee. This has been amazing.
Yeah, big shout out to the Party Planning Committee, and also thanks to Bassem for pointing out that we are hiring. Please feel free to check out our website, chainsafe.io, especially the careers section. And yeah, please, if you're enjoying the content you're seeing, tweet out with the hashtag CSCON and retweet the tweets that we're putting out in terms of the live streaming videos. But yeah, thank you very much, Bassem.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.